Batman is playing Galaga.
Welcome to Retro Gamer with Tall Paul.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Today we're going to take another shot at Galaga. See if I can move up on the leaderboard. Where did we leave off? Well, on the worldwide leaderboard I was 671. So let's go. Time to put the quarter in and see what we can do. The key to this game is to watch how the bombs fall. They throw them out at a certain angle, so it's key to not get trapped on the far left or the far right, but try to stay sort of zigzagging in the middle. It's one thing to know how to do something. It's another thing to do it. So as I'm saying this, I'll probably run right into a bomb or something. Gotta get that second shooter. So just for the heck of it, we're going to pretend that I had a lot of comments in my last videos and people asked me questions that I'm going to respond to. No one did, but let's just pretend, shall we? Here's a question. Tall Paul, how did you make your career decisions? Wow, that is a great question. How did I make my career decisions? Well, my dad was a construction guy. He did drywall my whole growing up years and much of my adult life. My dad worked 40-something years in drywall. So he always came home every day just sweaty and covered in taping mud. And he would have me go to work with him every once in a while, and I hated drywall. I respected what he did, but I hated it. And I could not see doing it day after day after day. Now he put food on the table and provided for a family of 5 many years doing that job. So I have, again, nothing but respect for it. But my goal was to do something different. And he would come home and tell me at night, find a job where you can work your brain and save your body. So I endeavored to do that. But I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I tried to go with what I knew. Like, I liked playing basketball, and I didn't have a hard time with English class. So I thought, well, maybe I could teach English and coach basketball. So that's what I went to school to do. I played basketball throughout college, and I became an English major. And then when college was over, I got my teaching credential for a secondary, like junior high, high school level. And I proceeded to begin coaching and teaching. While that was a good experience, I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do. Why, do you ask? Good question. Well, teaching was not a very high-paying profession. I saw that anybody who taught had to have a second income somehow. And I wanted my wife to be home to be able to raise our kids. I wanted to do a one-income type thing. And teaching also began to take up all my spare time with coaching and advising other clubs. I was always after school or working weekends, and I heard many different coaches say that they traded their own kids for the kids on the team. Now, while I admired their dedication, I thought, I'm not making that trade. I've only got one chance to really screw up my kids, and I want to take full advantage of it. So I wanted to be around for them. thus began the process of trying to figure out what else I would do. I'd go to school and think, what else can you do with an English degree? Write articles for the newspaper? I don't know. Become a reporter? Who knows what else? None of those things sounded any good to me. I didn't want to be a news person or whatever. My wife ended up taking a job before we had kids at a mortgage company as a administrative assistant. And I'd go in to visit her at work or whatever, and the two guys that owned the mortgage company found out I was a teacher. And they would say to me, Paul, there's a lot easier way to earn 30 grand than by teaching. There's a lot of easier ways to earn 30 grand, Paul. They'd always make fun of me. So one day I just asked, so how do you do it? And they were doing mortgage loans. So they taught me how to do mortgage loans, and I did teaching and mortgage loans for a full year, and then I decided just to stop teaching and to do mortgages full time. And that was the next 6 years of my life. So I spent 5 years in teaching and 6 years in mortgage loans. I liked mortgages. It was fun to close loans and fun to market and stuff, but it was hard to keep steady business going. When interest rates would go up, the market would change, and then especially when the recession happened in '08, all the short sales we began to have as people were walking away from their homes due to all the adjustable rate loans that adjusted high. People were just walking away from homes, and so it made it difficult in real estate. It was like somebody shut off the money pump, and suddenly I was considering going back to teaching, which I just did not want to do. But by this point, I was married with 3 little ones, and you have to do what you have to do to support your family. So during the Great Recession of '08, I began substitute teaching with the hope that I could go out and find a job anywhere that would not be teaching. I applied to be a parole officer. I took those tests. And then my wife sort of drugged me to a marriage retreat from our church, and I met a gentleman there who was in the highway patrol, and he heard that I was looking for work and asked what I thought about being in law enforcement. I had never given law enforcement a real thought. In fact, my wife had said that she didn't feel she could be married to a firefighter or a police officer early on in our marriage. So I thought, well, I don't think that's for me. My brother was the one who wanted to be in law enforcement. He took classes towards that end. I never did. I never figured I would be in a career like that. I was never a gun guy or anything like that. So I remember asking this guy at the marriage retreat, I remember asking him, I'm kind of an odd guy. Would I fit in the highway patrol? And he said, highway patrol needs a few guys like you. And that was enough for me. I thought, okay. And no longer was it about finding a job that was going to, fulfill me or whatever in my professional goals. It was simply about finding a job that would fulfill my family goals. I wanted to have a job that I had vacation and benefits, and my family would be able to be provided for on one income. And this seemed to do it. So right when I was applying for the highway patrol, a contract came open to be a full-time teacher back at the high school district that I used to teach at. And I remember the dollar amount of the contract was going to be about half as much as I would make if I made it into the highway patrol. So I remember thinking, for my family's sake, I have to try for double. I have to try for double income. If there's even a shot, I have to try, and I have to try with all my effort. So I spent from February of '08 to when I finally got an invitation to the academy in November, just preparing myself, working out, trying to learn 10 codes, just anything I could do to prepare myself to be an officer. And when I made it to the academy, I was just there to support the family, honestly. I mean, I wanted to do the job well. I just didn't know how I would fit. And it was a tough road through that academy. Being 35 years old and doing all the physical activity and stuff and the PT and all the things they put you through, but God saw me through it. And I graduated and became an officer. And I did that for the next 15 years. And it was good. It had its ups and downs. I think what people don't realize is how stressful it is to be an officer, because you're under scrutiny all the time. And it's not just from the public, it's from your own department. You are constantly being evaluated and critiqued on a daily, monthly, yearly basis. There's plenty of video of you. There's plenty of written reports. There's so many things they can be looking at to critique you. So it's very stressful unless you're on good terms with your higher-ups. You can be squashed pretty easily in that job if you don't have a firm foundation. I remember at times my mantra was, they can only do to me what God allows. Meaning, personally or professionally, the bad things that can happen are only what God will let happen to me. And it's ultimately for His purposes. So that was my mindset moving forward. After about 8 years on the job, I was able to transfer to a commercial scale facility, which really saved the rest of my career. While I still had a lot of the same stresses, it was a different environment. It wasn't being out on the road every day in a car, which, being 6'8", it's very difficult to be putting 300 miles a day on a car when you're shoved in this little car, wearing soft body armor and a gun belt and answering calls all day. It was hard on my back and neck. And I was going constantly to the chiropractor, and plus I was in my 40s. So when I got to the scale facility, it was, people say, what's it like compared to working the road? Well, the scale facility is like working near the road. Someone built you a little house, you can see the road, and trucks take a nice slow exit off of the interstate and drive very slowly right in front of your house. You look out the window, and if a ticket needs to be written, you just turn on the red light, and the driver comes inside, and you cite them for a violation if need be. It's very, very much lower stress. It can still be crazy at times, but for me, the day-to-day of it was much easier to handle, and I enjoyed working with the inspectors in the scale facility, and I enjoyed just all the different aspects of it. So my career choices one thing kind of led to the next. And I believe I was being pulled in one direction from another. And when I was struggling a little bit on the highway patrol, my sister-in-law and her husband offered me a position with their company for being an administrator for assisted living facilities up here in Idaho. And I didn't know anything about being an administrator for assisted living facilities. But my brother-in-law was kind enough to show me the ropes and train me and help me pass the licensing test. And now I'm an administrator, and pretty much the ladies who are in our Golden Girls facility think I'm just the piano player that shows up and plays piano every once in a while, which is kind of funny. I would say the only downside of that job is the hiring and firing. Just trying to find good people to work for you. People who will just come in and do the job and do it well. Speaking of jobs well done, I have broken the score. Yes, sir. It's a new high score, ladies and gentlemen. See how long I can extend this score. Every point I score is a new high score. And Tall Paul, is that all the jobs you've ever had? Well, no it isn't. I talked about working for my dad, and I wanted to go do anything else but work for my dad. So when I was a teenager, I began my illustrious work career at Burger King. I got a job at Burger King because my friend's aunt was the manager, and I dropped his name with her, and she gave me an interview, and they gave me a job. And I worked Burger King for a full year. I got my year pin. They gave me a pin for being there a year, and I asked for a raise. And I was getting $25 an hour. So they said, okay, they'll give me a raise. They gave me a nickel raise. So I got a raise to $4.30 an hour. I'm like, forget this. I'll go work somewhere else. I think I got a job at the Cascade movie theater in Redding for the rest of the summer, and I don't know. Worked a couple different jobs. What are these? Those look like little purple Starship Enterprises. Look at those things. I have never seen those before. Oh. Yes. Uncharted territory. So every summer I'd have a summer job. And when I was at college, I worked Foot Locker. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at Holiday Market. I was bagging groceries all summer. I had a lot of different part-time jobs during the summer before I started career job number one, which was teaching. I always felt the pressure of, you got to choose something to do for the next 35 years of your life. Well, that's not true. You don't know what you want to do until you try it. And you got to try something for a while to see if you like it. And they told me about after 5 years I'd know how I stood with teaching, and after 5 years I knew I didn't like it. I did like mortgages, but unfortunately the industry shut down and I had a family to support. And that's probably what kept me in the highway patrol for 15 years, was just the income and the retirement. And I was finally able to retire from that job at the age of 50, the ripe old age of 50. And now I'm working with family, which has been a really good deal. They treat me well. Probably because if they didn't treat me well, they'd have to deal with my wife. I tell you what, you don't want to mess around. She doesn't play. Just kidding. She's incredibly nice. If I have to give any advice to anyone out there looking for a job, it'd be this: don't be afraid of the trades. plumbing, electrician, something like that, auto tech. These jobs are starting to pay really well because there's a lack of people doing them or wanting to go to school for them. So go to a trade school and get one of those jobs, and you'll be making more money than most. Electricians basically run this town. If you're an electrician, holy cow. The days of people doing these sorts of jobs themselves have long since passed. I might just break 300,000. That would be crazy. This is where they start bombing the heck out of you. Last guy. $300,000. You saw it here. Amazing. We'll see how long I can last on one guy. So hey, don't be afraid to try a job. Stick with it for a while. And if you don't like it, find a different job. But there's plenty of jobs out there. You don't know if you'll like something until you try it. Ooh. Rough. Now this is where I'm going to get stuck into a pattern, and I'm not going to be able to get these guys. I appreciate everyone listening. If you listened this far. If you have any questions for me, put them in the comments. Anything you would like me to speak about or respond to. How come every YouTuber says, make sure you subscribe or push the bell for notifications? I don't really ever want to say that, but I just did. But if you want to subscribe, that's cool. I'm just glad you're on here listening. Maybe the next video I'll talk about the joy of high school reunions. I don't know. All right, let's put my name on the big board. Do. I did it. I did better than myself. Now let's see where we are on the worldwide leaderboard. All right, let's pull it up. Okay, it's got to come up. And let's get a close-up of that. Well, what do you know? 166. I moved up another 400 and something. Not too bad. I can't even pronounce that name. I'm coming after you, whatever your name is. Thanks for watching.